Are you still holding on? Have you lost hope? 'Cause it's not fair to keep me close with broken promises. I need you to let me go. All I really wanna know is, will you be mine? And all I really think about is, when will you be mine? Don't you get trapped inside your thoughts, trying so hard to guess the plot? 'Cause when we meet, you'll see the wait was really worth it. I would wait forever, 'cause I got faith, it's just a matter of time. All of the nights without you, I will just keep on waiting, waiting for you. For you, waiting for you. All you really gotta do is keep me on your mind. Just keep me on your mind. And all we really gotta do is not give up. I would wait forever, 'cause I got faith, it's just a matter of time. All of the nights without you.
Intensely sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Bar-Bissell FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are going wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up, as they're going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Oh! Get your foot there. He's got it.
He's got it.
He's got it.
Right there, no.
Endless in.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to FTF.GG's coverage of the fourth race of round 2 of the 2023 eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series, live from the virtual Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan. I'm James Pike alongside Caleb Hoffman, and Caleb, bad, fast racetrack is the first thing I think of when we look at tonight. Michigan is one of the fastest tracks that we go to on the calendar, and with these vehicles that are also utilized in the real-life NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the holes that they punch through the air, you see a lot of draft tactics that will come into play the same way we would as if we were at Daytona or Talladega. It'll race a lot like that.
Yeah, draft's going to be so important tonight. Like you said, high speeds tonight. I mean, these trucks are going to get up there going at the end of these straightaways, and I just cannot stress enough how important that draft is going to be tonight. You're going to see lots of freight trains at times, but I mean, I think you're going to see some 2x2, 3 wide racing at times. Going to be an exciting one here for sure, and might even see some wreck sprinkled in there with how the last 2 weeks have been, especially.
I think the draft is half the story. I think the other half of the story is looking at one driver in particular, Andrew Navarro, who has been lights out. He won his split at Pocono. He won his split at Lucas Oil Raceway Park in Indianapolis. And oh, by the way, when we came here for round 2 of the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series last year, he won that race too. So it's not inconceivable that Navarro could find a way to go 3 in a row in this series, which is an impressive potential feat in and of itself.
Absolutely. And I mean, the 2 wins back to back already have him in a great spot going into contender. But if he can get a third one in a row here tonight, then I think it's almost no question that he would advance. So if anybody wants to win, it's going to be Andrew Navarro here trying to go for 3 in a row the past almost month.
And we'll clarify, it would not be a mathematical lock yet, but it would likely be a case of if you just start and finish decently amongst the following 3 races, then you'll be okay. Because, and another good point to bring up right up at the top of the broadcast, when we complete lap 35 tonight, we'll be halfway not only through this race, but through half of round 2 of the qualifying series. So we'll have a good sense of what the picture looks like as far as the top 20 is concerned coming out of this evening. But at the same time, if you're on the outside already looking in, it's about this race where you need to start picking up your results in order to give yourself a chance of qualifying for the eNASCAR iRacing Contender Series.
Absolutely. The urgency is picking up if you're on the outside looking in right now. And like you said, this is really that turning point of this round where if you're not, already there, you got to get going, and it has to start today.
Lots of work for some of these drivers to do as we watch the final few ones work their way through qualifying. Of course, we've got our race tonight, and then we've got the other split available with the folks at FTN on YouTube as you get a good look at some of the cars here in qualifying. We're looking at some of the fastest tracks, or rather fastest trucks on the track at the moment here. So just keeping an eye on who's doing where and who's knocking out what, and who's going to have the ability to potentially start up front and really shake the game up.
Absolutely. You see right now is Andrew Navarro, and again has a chance to go 3 in a row here tonight. You know how important this draft is going to be tonight, James. And, even on their own, almost speeds of, 185, 186. You can't imagine the draft going to see speeds above 190 going into the corners tonight.
Yeah, will be big. Also worth noting here, and I think it's interesting, he's got the same partnership with Martin Sports that he did a year ago, does Andrew Navarro, but he swapped out red plaid for blue plaid. And if you get in close, I don't know if we've got the ability to get a good camera shot, but within the solid black checkers of the plaid, there is an outline of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is where owner of Martin Sports, Scott Martin, hails from. So nice little Michigan touch for what's a home race for one of Andrew Navarro's biggest partners. Here's a good look at Eddie Kerner making his way around the racetrack.
The speeds right now just at about that 39 5-ish standpoint right now. And again, going to pick up big time once we get into this race, and lots of aggressive moves that are going to be made, I'm sure. But
qualifying has completed. It is now time to bring you the starting grid for race number 4 of round number 2 of the 2023 eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. Your grid looks like this. Agnell Phillip with the fast time in qualifying, set down a 39.490 to take the pole over Brad Wright. Eddie Kerner and Brian Mercurio will share the second row. Jack Coyne starts from the 5th spot. He's joined by the driver that almost got it done. If not for a lap car, he would have won the opener at Mid-Ohio back at the beginning of July. Spencer Kostowitz, Timmy Pacioli, and Anthony Burrows roll off from 7th and 8th. Zach Nichols and Briar LaPrade complete the top 10.
And looking on to 11th, you're going to find Daniel Buttafuoco starting on the inside of row 6 with Tanner Love in 12th to his outside. Matt Kemp, row 7 inside with Christopher Hill to his outside. Boyd Hogan going to roll off tonight from the 15th position. He has Kwame Scott starting in 16th to his outside. Andrew Navarro, row number 9, alongside Max Brady. Rounding out your top 20 here, going to be Cody Harris and Jackson Crowder.
21st position is where you'll find Thomas Hazard. He starts next to Johnny Avila, one of 2 Canadians back here. John Jenkins and Ryan Hill roll off from 23rd and 24th. Kevin Champagne starts 25th. James Holzer will begin from 26th. Spencer E. Burns 27th. And a particular congratulations to the driver who won at Oshweekend Speedway last night in the NASCAR Pinty Series in real life. Trayton Lapsevich begins tonight from 28th. Alex Kalanick starts 29th, and Philip Groner completes your top 30.
And looking on here, Yusuf Ghali going to be our lone guy outside of the top 30 so far. He'll have work to do, but he can do it.
Work indeed to do as we take a closer look here at Michigan International Speedway, a D-oval of 2 miles that opened up just over 50 years ago back in 1969. There are 4 turns here, 18 degrees of banking in the corners, 12 degrees of banking on the front stretch, 5 degrees of banking on the back stretch. The in-sim time is right around 3:45 p.m. local time on Saturday, July 29th, so a few weeks ago. Air temp 84 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp 111 degrees Fahrenheit, so definitely warm. Humidity of 67% and winds headed to the southwest 10 to 11 miles an hour. Tonight we will go for 70 laps this evening, 140 miles, 225 kilometers. Your pit window 35 to 40 laps. Your pit speed 55 miles an hour. Before we go green flag racing, let's head down to the third member of our broadcast team, our pit reporter for this evening, Justin Melillo, with notes from pit road.
Thank you, James. Hello, everybody, and glad to be down here on pit road here at Michigan International Speedway. We got 70 laps ahead of us. Pretty much a straight-up strategy with the pit window being where it's at 35 to 40 laps. We'll probably see drivers pitting starting around that lap 30 area. I also got the other split, which is simultaneously happening at the same time as us. I believe Logan Helton is on the pole over there. So I'll be keeping you updated on everything happening over there. Back to you guys.
Set for 70 laps of racing and green-white checkers if we need them, 3 if we have to use them, and 2 races ago at Pocono we did need all 3 green-white checkers. We'll see whether or not we need one this time around. We did last year need at least 1, if my memory serves me correctly, but it's a new year, it's a new race, and another opportunity for these drivers to go to victory lane in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. Race number 4 of round number 2 is underway from the virtual Michigan International Speedway, and Agnell Phillip immediately jumps to the lead just ahead of Brad Wright. Eddie Kerner and Brian Mercurio will fight for the 3rd position as they work their way through turns 1 and 2 to the backstretch for the first time.
Look at this. We talked about going to see some side-by-side with how important this draft is going to be, and already lots of fanning out a little further back, and here comes Brian Mercurio. He's going to try to make some noise up inside the top 5 now.
We'll see where the grooves begin to form and where the lines begin to form. You can see that inside line already working with Phillip, with Wright, with Kerner, with everybody down that way. I think Kostowitz is the next one down at the bottom, but it's where these lines develop from about 5th on back. Mercurio in the high line is the first one we need to watch, as Kostowitz got tight in the center of the corner and nearly ran up into Mercurio. But where these drivers from about 5th on back decide to run, because you know the front 3 or 4 are going to largely follow suit with one another, especially under regular green flag conditions. But where the rest of the field comes together and decides to make their charge could be indicative of where you need to be at the end of the night, where these drivers think the better runs are going to come, which line they think was the smarter one to be in when it really gets down to it. All thoughts that you have to consider as you work your way through tonight's race if you're behind the wheel.
And so many variables to work with. If we do get cautions, how does that, throw a wrench into some pit window things as we, close call there. Kostowitz coming up in front of Anthony Burrows for a split second. But not only those cautions to account for, how does this draft play into fuel saving for some of these guys running a little further back?
Phillip Wright, the only two that have managed to go single file. Eddie Kerner and Brian Mercurio are locked together at the door for the 3rd spot. And worth noting, we'll see how Kerner handles the bottom, but I think it's worth at least filing away. Kostowitz getting tight in the center 1 and 2 last time by. That may be indicative of just how much you can side draft somebody in these trucks and just how much it means to be on the bottom end, or what being on the bottom means here. All things that we don't necessarily have played out yet, as you see a little bit of a bigger move here. This is Daniel Buttafuoco that we're on board with, looking to the inside of Timmy Pacioli. This would be for the 8th or 9th position, working their way through the turn.
You see right there, that group 3 wide right now, and got to be careful if you're Pacioli in this position. One wrong move in either direction really could cause you some trouble here. He's got drafting help from Tanner Love behind. Look at this outside lane, just all trained up at the moment.
You're really happy if you're in the top 5. If you're Buttafuoco, I think the idea is to get out of whatever this is that you're seeing on your screens, because it is busy back here. 3 wide as Buttafuoco looked to the inside of Kostowitz briefly and then thought better of it, so he'll roll the momentum on corner exit from that high line and get clear Pacioli to go single file and stretch this out amongst the top 10.
And 4 wide for a second, a little further in the back. They're going to get it figured out, but it was a really close call there. With Zach Nichols and Ryan Hill were side by side. Again, they get it sorted out, but it shows you the level of aggression that's going on throughout the back of the field here.
Just keeping an eye on things. We're starting to see some drivers make moves. Andrew Navarro, of course, is already charged up to the field. Ryan Hill is up 8 spots at the line. Started 24th up to the 16th position. So he's beginning to really make a charge. Beyond that, Buttafuoco's the other one that's made some headway, up 5 spots from where he started. Began this race in 11th, was scored in 6th the last time they crossed the stripe.
And still have some things to sort out here. Again, this, give for Eddie Kerner right now down to the inside of Mercurio. This top 5 has started to really figure things out. It's this battle of Burrows, Pacioli on back, where, again, everybody's just so aggressive trying to make up spots right now.
Aggressive to a point, and then you get stuck in the draft, and you need it because you're going to be infinitely slower if you're out of it, but it also sort of gridlocks you, and you can't really make too many moves unless you keep your foot in the throttle. We talked about, I think, multiple times over the course of this season and the last few seasons how momentum-based this particular truck is, where your max RPM sits somewhere in the ballpark of 7,500. So if you can keep your foot in the gas, that really means something, and it makes the high line here pretty advantageous, arguably even more so than we'd see at most of the other tracks we visit in the calendar, just because you can carry speed up high here a little bit easier.
Yeah, but even so, seeing a lot of guys try to use this middle line, don't want to go all the way up and, bleed out time by running that much wider around the racetrack right now. And Agnell Phillip doing a fantastic job right now. He knows how to get it done, and again, doing a good job leading this field around right now.
And Phillip's not even on the inside lane. Look at the way he's running and the way a lot of the leaders are running. He's not going any lower than a groove off of the apron. So that suggests to me that everybody's trying to go high side to really make it happen. And look at Buttafuoco. I think he's a fantastic example of that. He's weaved his way through the field, used the inside a little bit, but now that he's up near the front, look at where he is. 4th truck on that high line, making the middle of this racetrack work.
Again, just because I think carrying more speed's helping him out. And you see Eddie Kerner now going to jump into line. He gets a big bump from Kostowitz there and leaves Christopher Hill by himself down on the inside. He's going to make up some time here, but got to be careful not to get cycled out.
Little peek there from Mercurio looking to the inside, thought better of it. Meanwhile, Brad Wright beginning to make a charge up top, and he's going to see if he can draw a level with Mercurio, but Mercurio's got that draft from Agno Phillip. His one truck goes sideways. Pacioli right there in the corner of your screen gets caught into the fence. A few trucks also clip him, and that brings out our first yellow flag of the evening on lap 10 of 70. Pacioli was the first one to go around, and I wasn't totally certain who else got involved. We'll see what the replay shows us, but the 86 was sideways on corner entry, and looking at it, I think there may have been a little bit of help from Zach Nichols.
He got help for sure here. He came over the radio and was not happy. Just got out of the throttle. You see Zach Nichols there, makes that slight bit of contact. Gets all the way around because of the contact from Brian LaPrade, and then Jackson Crowder I saw had nowhere to go.
Yeah, LaPrade was just sort of there. Couldn't really do much of anything as Pacioli comes across his nose. Doesn't look like the damage is particularly substantial. Navarro got a piece of that just behind the left front wheel well. And then Boyd Hogan also got some damage on this as Pacioli came down the racetrack. Jackson Crowder was the one that T-boned Pacioli right at the end of this. So we'll go on board here. We'll get a good look at Pacioli and see what this looked like off the rear deck lid of his truck.
Gets that help going all the way around, and then just right back up in the middle of the pack. And that's so hard because you're in the middle of that draft, and again, it's a necessity here to stay in those packs. And when somebody gets turned around, can just lead to something like that.
You have to. You have no choice here. And the worst part is that because this isn't, I wouldn't necessarily call it an aero-sensitive track by nature, but it is a high-speed track. And so any form of body damage, especially to anything aero-related, is going to affect you, not necessarily because it's going to hinder your ability to turn, but because it's going to hinder your ability to hit top speed, as most of the field outside of Agno Phillip decides to come down pit roads. So bold strategy for Phillip. Mercurio leads, I think, literally everybody else in this field down for service.
And again, those cautions going to be so monumental here today in terms of how that's going to affect our pit strategy, and see most everybody wanting tires and fuel at this point.
They'll all come down for service. As they come down, let's go down to Justin Malello and see if he's gleaned anything over the first seventh of our race.
Thank you, James. I'm looking here. It looks like the majority of the field is on the same page here. I believe everybody's taking 4 tires. They do have a total of 4 sets of virtual Goodyear tires to take, which means that there are 3 sitting in the pits, and of course the one that they start with on the truck at the start of the race. Everybody here has taken those 4 tires. It works out to be about 17.5 laps per set if you really wanted to do the math on that. Agno Phillip here is going to be a sitting duck, isn't he? He's on the old tires. Literally the entire field is in or came in there and put 4 fresh tires on, and I feel really bad for Phillip because he's going to be a little bit of a he's not going to have the same grip that these guys are going to have. Also, a quick update on the other race. They did have a caution on lap 2. They've since gone back green. Jonathan Delaney is currently leading over there. Back to you guys.
Phillip will have the worst tires, but everybody will still have to come down pit road for fuel once. So we'll see how that plays out over the course of this race. For now, though, we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more coverage of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. Actually, take that back. We're going to stick around here. We are going to get set for a restart.
And again, Agno Phillip here, a really tough choice. I mean, if you come in, you got to think that at least some guys are going to stay out here and make your life challenging, but now he is the only one that has stayed out. And I don't know what we see on this restart, but from what we saw from guys, especially like Brian Mercurio, especially the aggression inside this top 5, I feel like he'll just get eaten alive here, and expect to see a lot of double wide, 3 wide racing on this restart.
Yes, so we expect Phillip to fall back. His tires are officially 12 laps older than everybody else's, but you do have to pit. There is no denying that. So you're going to lose track position, but you do have the security of A, knowing that everybody else is going to have to come down pit road, and B, if you slide far back enough to where they wreck in front of you, which I won't rule out the possibility of, you may put yourself in a position where you avoid it, and maybe it's not the worst thing in the world, but this is also trying to take a glass half full perspective, because you're going to lose the track position no matter what, and that's almost always a negative.
And again, not sure about it, but we'll have to see. He might be able to hold everybody off on this restart and make us look dumb.
Depends on whether or not he'll be able to get up to the high side and maintain speed through the corner. He is the control car for our restart, which will coming to lap 14 of 70. Agnel Phillip takes off, and we'll keep eyes on Wright, on Botafogo, on Mercurio, on Kerner, on Hill, on everybody else just behind Phillip that decided to take fresh tires. Really should start to bear coming through 1 and 2, and now you see the inside beginning to roll. Here comes Mercurio looking for his shot to the bottom. Phillip's going to go all the way down to the inside to block. Meanwhile, Wright gets that great run on the high side on corner exit, and he may take the lead entering turn 3.
And down on the inside is Agnel Phillip trying to hold strong. I just think that tire disadvantage right now, you can see Mercurio dipping out of that pack, leaving him out to dry, and there's that tire disadvantage coming into play.
Phillip now right in the middle, last place you want to be. Here comes Mercurio, here comes Kerner, here comes Laprat, here comes Costawitz, here comes Christopher Hill to the inside. But if we go just a little bit further up to try and get second.
Big moves being made a little further in the pack. Agnel Phillip continuing to get cycled out right now. He's fallen all the way back outside of the top 10 now and struggling to hang on, and everybody else is not trying to be behind him right now. So you're seeing a big influx of 3 wide and maybe even 4 here if we get crazy enough.
Mercurio is the first car side by side with somebody, if only just. Laprat is to his outside. That would be for the 7th position. Navarro is there to the bottom. Tanner Love is there. Max Brady is there. And Agnel Phillip's already back to the 15th position after restarting for the race lead. So that's 2 and a change laps in, and he's already basically lost the track position to half the field. So yeah, I'd say tires matter here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andrew Navarro peeking down underneath Brian Mercurio here. A little curious there. I thought they would have tried to work together maybe on the inside lane, but nope. Here comes Andrew Navarro all the way. Big sin down to the inside. Going to get behind Brian Laprat, and he'll be clear. Mercurio coming off 4.
Mercurio is going to be just stuck behind this bunch here. He'll have the opportunity to ride the draft. Now he'll slide high, and there goes Navarro to the top side. Everybody weaving back and forth, looking for opportunities to block on corner entry as Navarro will try and pull the draft off of Costawitz to get to the outside quarter panel of Brian Laprat, which he may well do here on corner exit, and that would set up Navarro to take over the 7th position if he could complete this pass.
Yeah, right now, Navarro's still to the outside here, and this outside lane not as dominant as I would have thought. I mean, look at Christopher Hill down to the inside. Not going to get quite the run on the straightaway, but he's making a charge here.
This is the conundrum of the inside here that I think we've seen so far. You can get to someone's door down there, but can you get the momentum to complete the pass and make a run on someone down there? That I'm not necessarily convinced of. So Hill will be able to drive up to Brad Wright's quarter panel all day long, I think. But the problem is that when you consider Botafogo is up top, Burrows is up top, Kerner is up top, Navarro is up top, they're all working together really well. You're going to need help if you're going to make that bottom work. And now Christopher Hill's finally getting it in the form of Costawitz and Laprat. And now Navarro's gone down there too.
And look at this up front. Here comes Costawitz, going to try to make it 3 wide going into turn number 1. He has help from Laprat. They're leaving Christopher Hill out. Side by side now for the lead. It's Costawitz with the charge.
So Hill will sit in the middle. He may be able to jump up to the high side here and have the opportunity to keep it 3, which he does, as here comes Daniel Botafogo just ahead of our on-board with Eddie Kerner. You see in the first truck of that outside line trying to work the high side to take the lead away from Brad Wright, who gets help from Hill, and then Costawitz is down on the inside with help from Laprat trying to make the inside lane.
Botafogo with a well-calculated move there. He's got help from Anthony Burrows behind, but look at the dominance that this middle line has been able to show. Looks like the best of both worlds right now for Brad Wright.
Best of both worlds, you said? Yeah, anybody who had Hannah Montana references in your bingo card. Leave it to the
I like
Nashville
to keep him
guy.
guessing, James.
Leave it to the Nashville guy to do it, of course. Somehow that tracks. And Justin, apparently you're a big fan of that one too.
I understood that reference, James. Yes, I did.
This is good. We're training the masses well here
Highbrow entertainment.
at the FTF.GG Twitch channel, which is great as we continue to see this battle for the lead. Now this is sort of stratified into two banks of cars, one on the inside, one on the outside. We haven't seen as much movement here, and everybody's decided to back down from the three-wide racing that we saw a few laps ago. But I do think this is all kind of a battle to try and get to someone's right rear quarter panel, as we see good move there just a little bit further back. And guess who it is? Andrew Navarro, defending race winner here, who was able to do that to Botafogo and now has a decent shot of getting second out of the corner.
Yeah, we know Andrew Navarro knows how to get it done, but showed it here last year. He's doing a great job. Look at him on the outside all by himself. Gets to that quarter panel of Brad Wright. Does Burrows go with him now to try to give him support?
Burrows will indeed go up there. Kerner is up there too. And I believe there's one more truck. I think that might be Max Brady that's fourth in line on the outside. We'll double check it and see. It is indeed Max Brady who's decided to join the party. Also, fun little factoid out there. Of the top 10, 5 of the drivers within that started 11th or worse on the grid, including Navarro, who was 17th, and Botafogo, who was 11th. The other 3 in question, Christopher Hill and Max Brady, and then Brian LaPrade, too.
And then look at this, just fanning out all throughout the field right now. Mercurio was thinking about helping Hill on the inside. I think he's going to opt to go with Botafogo now. Yes, going to leave Hill out for the time being, but still holding strong Andrew Navarro, and he might be able to clear Brad Wright here.
Continuing to work our way around the virtual Michigan International Speedway. 23 laps on the board of 70, working our way within 10 laps of halfway, not terribly far away from the midway point of this race. Meanwhile, Justin Malillo, let's go down to you for more notes from Pit Road.
Yeah, I'm watching Navarro, and he basically went up there on his own accord. I mean, he had a little bit of help on the high line from Anthony Burrows, but Burrows really wasn't able to get to his back bumper for whether it was dirty air or, you know, just not having the setup to get there. Navarro just drove to the lead. Now he's there, but you got to wonder if he's burning off his tires faster than everybody else. We know that they're going to have another pit stop at some point, because the fuel's not going to make it. Whether that's going to be in due part due to caution or if it's going to be a green flag stop, I don't know. But Navarro's fast for now. I'd be interested to see if he's fast for the whole run.
It's a good point, because again, we know that all these drivers are going to have to pit at some point for fuel. We don't quite know when. So that's part of the beauty of this, is figuring out how you're going to do this. And I would think, just off of basic chicken scratch math, if we set this up and potentially try and line things up the way that you would like to, if you're splitting this in half from when we had that yellow, you're pitting probably ballpark, what, lap 40-ish, Justin, I'd say?
I would say that 40 would be about the earliest that you want to come in. It's 70 laps. They pitted at lap 11. Splitting it up about 30-30 would probably be the best bet, but you'll definitely see some stretch it a little bit longer. Some will try to short pit for track position. And then, of course, if a caution were to fall, and I mean they are packed up in the back of that field. They are. This is true pack racing, as we've seen in the Truck Series at Michigan before, even in the real world. So we do have one retirement, by the way, down pit road down here. Timmy Pacioli has pulled behind the virtual wall. He's done for the evening. Back to you guys.
Which I saw a request for a little update on the point situation as we approach the halfway point of this series. We have numbers entering tonight's race with the results from Mid-Ohio, Pocono, and IRP at our disposal. We can tell you that Timmy Pacioli entered tonight 41st in points, so he will fall down the running order and slide back towards that zone where you don't want to be in 70. Navarro, not surprisingly, is your overall points leader across all 70 drivers, then Hurst, then Botafogo, who was third. Other notable drivers in tonight's race that were high up in the standings. Laprade is fourth entering this evening. Phillip was sixth. Mercurio 8th. Burrows 9th. Christopher Hill 13th. Kenny Brady 16th. Michael Venable, I believe I saw his name in here perhaps. Max Brady was 20th in points. Just on the outside looking in, Johnny Avila is the first name that stands out to me in 27th. And then Jackson Crowder, who was caught up in that earlier wreck, 28th. Spencer Kostowitz entered tonight, 30th in points.
And if you notice up here at the front, starting to spread things out just a little bit, have a little bit of a gap from Christopher Hill back to Max Brady. Brian Mercurio now trying to get to his inside, which might even exacerbate that. But even in the back, Burrows and Kerner side by side. I mean, this top 10 was under a blanket just a few laps ago, and now it's almost a second difference.
Speaking of differences, Agnell Phillip is a solid 3 seconds off of the back of this pack, and that is purely down to the fact that he did not come down pit road with everybody else. So that is where your difference in tires really ends up standing out more than anything else. That to me is a very, very big thing to note. If you want a visual on tires and how much they matter here, just look at that. Look at that gap and how he is already well out of the draft and is now very much just waiting for a yellow because he doesn't really have anything else that he can do that helps him.
And I mean, we knew tires were going to matter, but it's really nice to have a visual bookmark. Unfortunate that it's at Agnell Phillip's expense, but without a caution, his chances aren't looking good. But who knows, might get it here in the coming laps.
Perhaps it's an option. And with the way they're racing a little bit further back, I won't totally rule it out because you get back to about Brian Laprade, Matt Kemp, Spencer E. Burns, that group right around 15th. That's where the fun is starting. However, if you are splitting this race in half and you came down pit road, you're within maybe 10-ish laps of your pit stop. So something that these drivers may want to keep in mind. I would expect a few drivers to probably pit right around lap 40 if we don't get a yellow beforehand.
Absolutely. It's got to be in the forefront of everybody's minds right now, and maybe even a factor in seeing a lot of these guys starting to get single filed, get organized all together.
Still Navarro in control of this, and everybody out front really has strung out. So a lot of drivers running in single file, just essentially trying to make it to the yellow. We're also starting to see tire wear come into play big time. We talked about how it's hurt Agnell Phillip, but I think that's also part of the reason why we're not seeing as much side-by-side racing, because these trucks just aren't handling near as well as they did at the beginning of the green flag run. Good look here at Mercurio, Max Brady, Anthony Burrows, and Eddie Kerner are the ones at the back of this lead pack. This is your top 7 trucks in the field, and a gap of about half a second to Brad Wright in 8th. And then everybody else here, you're seeing this Kwame Scott, Jack Coyne, Johnny Avila, Yusuf Ghali, James Holzer, Spencer Kostowitz, some of the ones that you see on frame coming our way to lap 33 of 70. Interesting group here that we have, especially when you consider the points and where everybody sits. Just looking at some of the drivers in the mix here and where they may sit amongst the madness. Brad Wright was 34th entering tonight's race. He was 8 points behind the cutoff. Kwame Scott comes into tonight 11th in the point standings. Jack Coyne was 31st. He was, I believe, 7 points off. So drivers that are right around that bubble, which not too big of a margin now, but again, as we progress through the season and we start taking drops into account towards the end of it, because these points do shuffle a little bit once iRacing officially starts tabulating the drops. And for those who are unfamiliar, within round 2 of the qualifying series, you have the opportunity to drop the points from your lowest finish amongst all the races that you compete in, so long as you compete in all 7 races. If you have to miss one, then your drop becomes the points that you would have earned from whatever race that you missed, which is effectively 0. So if you can compete in all 7 races, that does give you a little bit of leeway, but still worth it to try and compete well.
Absolutely. You want to, set yourself up with the best shot to advance, and for everybody here competing week in and week out, don't want to leave anything on the table for sure. But like you said, an interesting group back here. Looks like starting to settle down, and again, got to be anticipating pit stops here within the next, 4 or 5 laps even.
Continuing to shuffle around Michigan International
Had
Speedway.
a really close call there. Matt Kemp just got super loose in front of Zach Nichols. Almost had what happened there to Pacioli happen once again, and did a great job. Matt Kemp did to save it, and Zach Nichols as well. Both of them come out of it unscathed. They were 2-3 wide, and nothing happens of it.
When you said that, I initially thought that Nichols had made contact with him, but no, that was just Kemp getting loose on corner exit, and actually a really nice job from Nichols to stay off of the rear bumper of Kemp and keep from completing the spin, as it were. If Kemp had gotten any sort of touch, he would have been sideways on the exit of turn 2. We'd be under the yellow flag once again, but not a bad job there from Nichols to stay off him, and we stay green flag racing. Kemp in 16th, and Nichols scored in the 19th position.
And both of them doing good jobs right now, and a great job to avoid that there. But Kemp's still out of control right now. Looks like he tagged the wall even just a little bit. You see him up top against the wall, 3 wide there for a second with Boyd Hogan and Spencer Burns. But out of control right now. Might just be a result of tire wear for that 54 truck.
I don't know, Philip, a solid 3 seconds behind the field now, so a long, long, long way to go. A long way to go for him.
Spencer Burns gonna try to clear himself right there in front of him and got out of control. Nichols still to his inside. This 3-truck group has been just all over each other the past few laps, and really tough when you're expecting pit stops at any point to be racing this close.
Waiting for stops. We have cleared halfway, by the way, so we are halfway through round 2 of the 2023 eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series officially. We hit that just a few laps ago. No change amongst the drivers towards the front. Andrew Navarro, your race leader, and unquestionably the driver of the first half of this qualifying series round 2 in 2023. And he and Botafuco in particular, and Christopher Hill a little bit as well, they all started around the same place in the field, but a very obvious game plan for all 3 of them. Get to the front, stay there. Meanwhile, here comes Navarro down on pit road on lap 38, a little bit earlier than we expected anyone to come in, so let's go down to Justin Malillo for more.
This is when the pay window has opened. It's just before lap 40. It's a little bit before halfway in this run. I kind of expected Navarro to be one of the trucks to pick early. He's down on pit road with Brad Wright, who also led this race early on, as well as Spencer E. Burns and Agno Phillip. Those are the first 4 trucks to pit. They're taking 4 tires. They're taking fuel. Nobody with any black flags. They're going to be coming back on track. And everything's all on the table now. We're going to see more people coming in this time by as well.
Not too many from the front of the field, though. Spencer Kostowitz is one of them. I believe Cody Harris out of the A51 Pro Stables is the other, so we'll keep our eyes on this lead pack again. We talked about it earlier. If you have decided that you're going to come down here and you're going to try and split this race in half based off of that first yellow that came around lap 11, then now is about the time where you would want to come in to try and even out your green flag runs. So especially towards the front of the field, I would not expect too many of the leaders to stay out much longer than they currently are.
And thought we might see a few there, and just Brad Wright all the way on the inside. He was getting past Botafuco there, and you gotta wonder if seeing that discrepancy in the corners might, make some of these guys think a little harder about their decision, and might see a few come in this time by instead. Well, big wiggle out of Chris Hill there.
So now if you're Navarro, if you're Kostowitz, if you're Wright, Burns, Harris, even Agno Phillip, if you're any of these drivers that came in early and Phillip decided to pit again and just split it straight up. So he lost the track position, but he did come in with everybody else. He's still about 3 seconds back of Harris, which will be a bit of an issue. But If you came in and this stays green all the way, you end up in a really good position as we start seeing more drivers come down for service. Boyd Hogan is in. Philip Groner is in. Trayton Lapsevich in for service. I believe Alex Kolinix is also one of the ones who's coming down pit road.
And again, looking here, lap 42. I know we had that caution sprinkled in there, and everybody except Agnell Phillip, came down during that cycle. But, got to expect some of these guys to pit any time now, and I think we might see them here.
Let's see it. Christopher Hill and Brian Mercurio come down onto pit road. That's second and third on the racetrack coming in as one truck slides a little bit further behind them. Let's go back down to Justin Malillo for more.
I didn't see who it was who spun. We do have a black flag on Boyd Hogan. Boyd Hogan too fast on pit road. He's going to serve a 40-second penalty, which is, that is going to kill his race. I believe it was Thomas Hazard who may have spun there coming onto pit road. Either way, things are getting crazy as lap trucks are trying to get their laps back. Lead lap trucks trying to get down to the bottom lane, trying to pit. I think we're going to have the leader, Buttafuoco, coming in, and a good chunk of them coming in this time by about 5-6 trucks.
A lot of the big players in now. Buttafuoco, Brady, Burrows, Kerner, amongst the drivers in for service. This on lap 43 of 70. Kwame Scott is in. Jack Coyne is in. Ryan Hill. Justin Malillo, any more that you can tell us about this group down pit road?
A lot of the drivers that found their way to the front and kind of like equalized up front, like Buttafuoco, like Burrows, like Brady, Kerner. This is probably the money lap for pit stops, I would say. It's not too far into the run. It's not too early in the run. They pretty much have split it, maybe gone a little bit longer. Oh, and there's almost contact into pit road. Johnny Avila locked it up. I think he might have gotten a little bit of contact from James Holzer there coming into the pit stops. Nobody with a black flag, though, this time by. It's still 2 trucks on the track, Tanner 11, Brian LaPratt.
Have no doubt that Holzer did get into Avila. Right front damage on Holzer's Chevrolet Silverado. We'll cross-check and see if Avila's got damage to the rear of his truck and whether or not that will affect him. And as we take a peek at things, it looks like he's okay. So Holzer got the worst of that. Meanwhile, Tanner Love, who's currently scored as your race leader in for service, and the last driver to stay out and the one taking the gamble, Briar LaPrade out of Manchester, Tennessee. So LaPrade is the last driver that will have to make a stop. And then Navarro has the oldest tires amongst the race leaders, but he's clear of Brad Wright by about half a second. And the question will be now, who can form a draft train to link up with these front drivers when you consider that the gap to monitor is Spencer E. Burns and Christopher M. Hill. It is 1.3 seconds between those two, so that in particular will be worth noting as we keep an eye here. Tanner Love is in. LaPrade is the last one yet to make a stop.
And gotta wonder if this is a play for the end from Brian LaPrade staying out this long, if he just wants that tire advantage coming to the end of this race.
All eyes on LaPrade here and when he comes down pit road and how this will all shake out over the course of the rest of this race. If you're LaPrade, you would love to see a caution right now because you are giving up time to everybody else on the racetrack, no doubt about it. So if this stays green and you come down for service, then you're going to be well towards the back of the pack, lacking in track position. It will not look like the greatest of decisions. But if we get a yellow now, you get to pit from the front, you look like a genius, basically.
Absolutely, and gotta wonder when that time is going to click for Brian LaPrade. Right now has about a 25-second advantage, and that's Max Brady on the backstretch now, and second place Andrew Navarro. I mean, complete opposite end of the racetrack right now that he would have to make up. Of course, still has to make that pit stop, but caution could come into play later on in this run if that's what he wants to do.
Will LaPrade come in this time? No, he still stays out on the racetrack here, trying to stretch it out. Now, Justin Malolo, let's go to you once again because we talked about pit windows earlier and how things could go and just how far you could stretch fuel. So, with that in mind, and with the fact that LaPrad's already run 37 laps, how soon do we think he'll have to come in for fuel?
Breyer's window is closing and closing fast, and I know exactly what he's doing here. He's hoping for a caution because we've seen how big these tires are. Fresh tires are worth gold today, and if Breyer can get a lucky caution here, everybody's going to come down pit road because they have the tire sets to take. So it's a play for sure. If it stays green to the end of the race, it's not going to work out the way that he wants. As we're seeing Chris Hill and Brian Mercurio go low on the drivers that pitted early. Hill and Mercurio pitted on lap 42. They've got 4-lap fresher tires than Navarro and Wright. And I really like their strategy here. I think they're going to be able to take the lead. And I wonder about the other trucks that pitted a lap later that are like 2 seconds behind. I don't know if they're going to have enough tires once the tires equalize in about 10 laps.
Very intriguing points there. And that goes back to the gap that we've been talking about. Now it is, I believe, Spencer E. Burns.
LaPrade is in.
And here comes Brian LaPrade for service, so that answers that question. So he'll come down, couldn't make it any further than 38 laps. Meanwhile, again, gap to watch here, and the one between these front two groups is the one from Spencer E. Burns to Daniel Buttafuoco, which has been shrinking lap by lap, now down to 0.6 of a second.
And during that cycle as well, Mercurio and Chris Hill were just able to get around Andrew Navarro and Brad Wright Kostowitz as well. So those two trucks making up time going into turn number 1 now. And like you said, that gap between Buttafuoco, Spencer Burns has been shrinking. And I think in the next few laps, they will be there, if not by the end of this one.
As he comes down pit road, we will take a commercial break, and then we'll come back and reset where the field is on these fresh tires. You're watching coverage of the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series from the virtual Michigan International Speedway on the FTF.TG Twitch channel. Welcome back to FTF.GG's coverage of the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. James Pike, Caleb Hoffman, and Justin Malillo patrolling the Irish Hills of Michigan in search of news, information for you, and in Justin Malillo's case, updates on the other race that is taking place at Michigan in round 2.
right on, James. I'm watching here. Chris Pfeffer is going to cycle to the lead once everybody has gone and pitted. Jonathan Delaney in second. They have also had a clean and green run over here over on FTN and LSR TV, running the second split here tonight. They've got 20 laps to go. I think they've had one more caution than we've had. They had a caution at lap number 2, and then they had another one at lap number 12 or so. Things have really single filed out over there. You're looking on the screen. They have not over here. Strategies are coming to a head. Drivers are getting dicey. 3 wide there down the back straightaway. That was an interesting moment in our split. Johnny Avila on the bottom there. But I'm watching up front in our split. Chris Hill and Brian Mercurio pitted on lap 42. Daniel Buttafuoco and Max Brady pitted on lap 43. 1 lap difference. Buttafuoco and Brady have a slight advantage, but once they get there, are they going to be able to get around, or will the tires equalize? That's what I'm watching, along with this craziness in the mid-pack.
Well, building off of that point, if you remember the opening stint of this race, Buttafuoco drove from 11th to the race lead kind of like this. So if there's anybody that has that sort of ability, I think we have to look at Buttafuoco as one of the drivers that may have a shot at this. Also someone that you'll see participating in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, which will start back up next month, victorious on 2 separate occasions in that series over the course of its campaigns over the last few years. But for now, working to the outside of Brian Mercurio, Buttafuoco now trying to get second, and Hill will go up the hill to block and then opens up the middle, which is where Buttafuoco's going to go, and he may be able to bring Max Brady with him. To the front goes Daniel Buttafuoco to the outside of Mercurio, and to the race lead out of turn 4 with that high line and the momentum. It will be the New Jersey native in control of this race, working our way to 12 laps to go. Christopher Hill now goes to the bottom to try and help Mercurio, and we're starting to see the leaders bunch up at the front. Burrows, Kerner, Kwame Scott all trying to find some space amongst this next group, but Burrows and Kerner in particular beginning to reel in these 4 leaders as they continue to race side by side, so this could be a 6-way battle for the lead.
Yeah, and Buttafuoco did a great job with that slip from Chris Hill, and you see Mercurio fighting hard on the inside right now, just not going to be able to get that drive off back in, going to slip out just a little bit, on board with Eddie Kerner, who is, again, right in the viewing seat for this battle up front. The top 3, Chris Hill slipping back just a little bit, but he might be able to get back in it if Burrows and Kerner come with a surge.
How about James Holzer in this bunch just a little bit further back, too? You'll see him just on the edge of your screen there with Kwame Scott. Remember, he got the damage running into the back of Johnny Avila coming down pit road for service midway through this race, and now he's leading a train with Kwame Scott. Yusuf Ghali and Andrew Navarro has been able to hang in there on the old tires. He's still in the mix as this front group begins to compact as we work towards the end of the race.
And got to be careful here if you are this second mini pack. These trucks all together don't want to lose the back end of Brian Mercurio here, but Mercurio with no help should make it pretty easy to latch back on. Here comes Christopher Hill, Boyd Hogan, Anthony Burrows, all within now this race winning conversation.
Christopher Hill, I think, is the wild card amongst this bunch, only because he's the only one that I've seen consistently not be afraid to work the inside, but more importantly, not be afraid to put some of these drivers double file. And every time they race side by side, it allows that closing pack to gain on the leaders little by little by little by little. So the more that Christopher Hill does that, the more we could see this pack of about 6 or 7 leaders increase to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and like you said, Holzer has a shot. Talked about Yusuf Ghali pre-race about how he had to make up ground, and he has done just that. Finds himself inside the top 10. He has Kwame Scott right here helping him, and I think these guys are well within conversation. Like you said, could have 10 or so trucks in conversation for this win.
A lot of them, but they will all have to find their way around Daniel Botafuca. There's Eddie Kerner looking to the outside of Christopher Hill. Again, this could be a battle of can you get to the right rear quarter panel of somebody else to get to the outside. Hill responds and goes way up the racetrack to keep Kerner at bay. I think that's the kind of defense that you have to play if you want to maintain your track position. 9 laps to go on the board now, and ever so slightly you can see that next group coming in with Holzer and Gali and Kwame Scott.
Side by side, this is Gali to the inside of Holzer here, and I don't know, looking around right now, I think the question becomes, if you're Max Brady, when do you want to make this move, or at least tip the line a little bit, something to make this work around Botafuca? Right now, you're just sitting there, and I think if I'm Max Brady, I'm just trying to put this truck in different places to learn anything I can about how to get around Botafuca here in this last 8-lap run.
I want to come to Justin Malillo on this because I'll be curious to see if the teams or the drivers have said anything, but I almost think, just sitting here, that the best strategy, if you're Brady, may involve just a little bit of brake dragging just to close up that gap between your truck and the third place truck, in this case Brian Mercurio, because that would give you an opportunity to potentially get a run on Botafuca and get around it with momentum. And if you time that right, it's definitely possible to, I don't know, blow past the leader is quite the right way to, sort of paint the picture, but you can definitely draw alongside the leader a little bit easier if you start with a greater head of steam once you get that run going. So that's where my brain goes with it. Justin Malillo, what about you?
I'm watching the drafting games that are happening behind these top two. I saw Brian Mercurio drop down to the middle to bottom lane on the backstretch to try and give Chris Hill a little bit of a draft there. As I say that, Brian is now looking low on Max Brady for the second spot. Botafuca, I feel like he's in a decent spot though, because I think these tires have all equalized. They're all running the same times. I'm looking at Navarro's fallen back to 11th, but I don't think he's going to fall back much further than that. And meanwhile, LaPrade on that, crazy strategy didn't work out for him. He's back in 28th. I don't think he's going to get anything better than that either. So all these guys pitting, lap 42, lap 43, lap 44 in this main pack here, I think the tires have gotten to a point now where there's no more tire advantage. It's go run what you brung. This is it. Everybody's on the same stuff. Is anybody going to be able to get any grip, though, with how old these tires are now?
And have the tires equalized so much that it won't necessarily matter? I think that's also a very good question to keep in mind as these drivers work a little bit higher up the racetrack. You're seeing that now, too. Everybody's starting to run the same line, Caleb, and it's all closer and closer and closer yet to the fence.
Yeah, and I mean, this is why I was saying, if you're Max Brady, where do you run that truck to, again, try to figure anything out if you can get around Botafuca? Because right now, just sitting in line, I don't necessarily think that they're learning anything, and all you're doing is giving Brian Mercurio that shot. He was peeking to the inside there for just a second. This draft is going to be so important, obviously, but I think you're going to have to make a move at one point or another if you're really going to be aggressive trying to get around Botafuca here for the win.
Perhaps. It's a good question to ask as you look off the back of Daniel Botafuca's machine. Max Brady is the one in second now. He's on even tires. If you're looking for drivers that may make a difference, you pit it a little bit later. Holzer, Gali, looks like Champagne, Johnny Avila, everybody that came into that bunch, they all have the freshest tires, but they don't have the track position. And that, I think, could be the biggest problem, working our way to 2 laps to go.
And Eddie Kerner was not happy, got out of line right there. Max Brady now looking down to the inside. And again, just wondering if it's definitely not too late for Max Brady, but he has Mercurio right here all over his back bumper. He has to worry about now trying to defend himself for that P2 position. Nonetheless, trying to work to Daniel Botafuca right now.
Botafuca's been in control of this, one of the strongest trucks all night long. Andrew Navarro's bid for a 3rd straight win, likely to come up short just with where he is on the racetrack. Currently scored back in the 11th position, so the early pit stop definitely hurting him now on the back end of this race. Moves, though, coming from Mercurio and Christopher Hill looking to the inside of Max Brady, but they'll all tuck in line. Nobody has anything at this point for Daniel Buttafuoco. And as they come to the white flag, somebody's got to start orchestrating a run to try and get around the New Jersey native for the lead and the win.
Absolutely, as they come to cross the white flag, Max Brady, Brian Mercurio, Christopher Hill, I think all of them are going to have to work together here if they have any shot of getting around Buttafuoco as they go into turn one. Still Buttafuoco who has the lead.
Not a big run coming yet. We see Brady beginning to slide back. Mercurio trying to gain on him as Brady continues to try and play the draft. They'll all fall in line behind Buttafuoco. One more opportunity here in 3 and 4, and not really any major sins from Brady. Down to the apron, to the inside of Buttafuoco in any way, shape, or form. Maybe one big run coming out of turn 4, but an easy win for Daniel Buttafuoco to go to victory lane here in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series with a smart pit strategy call, a nice run to the front early in the race, a really well executed race all the way around for the student at Rutgers who goes to victory lane in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series for the first time in round 2 of 2023.
Yeah, and that was just a heck of a drive, and starting to see a little bit of a trend here. Andrew Navarro wins twice, and now Daniel Buttafuoco picks up his second win. Find ourselves in a little bit of a sandwich, really, of this entire round. But again, Buttafuoco with a heck of a drive to drive up past Hill, Mercurio, and fend off Brady and everybody else. Just well-deserving win here for Daniel Buttafuoco.
Good note there. Editorial note. First win on one of the FTF.GG broadcasts. He did win a little bit earlier in the season with our folks at FTM, but first time we've had the opportunity to see him go to victory lane. It'll be our first opportunity to chat with him. Our post-race interviews here in just a little bit. You see Max Brady also there on the front stretch celebrating. And worth noting, so you can chat here some points. One comment from astute driver from A51, Nathan Jurgensen. We've seen him run a lot in the sim, but interesting to see that Brady didn't necessarily push the issue because drivers understand that they might be points racing and that a second place finish, it's not the win, but you're not really racing for wins explicitly in this series, and that a really good points night can help you just as much as a trip to victory lane.
Absolutely, and Brady as well helped Buttafuoco get through a lot of that traffic, and both of them, I think, did a great job there. Really a team win all around.
Take a look at our rundown and show you where your favorite driver finished here. Buttafuoco, your winner over Brady and Mercurio. Christopher Hill and Eddie Kerner complete the top 5. Anthony Burrows, James Holzer, Kevin Champagne, Yusuf Ghali, and Kwame Scott completed the top 10.
Yeah, Philip Groner finishes 11th tonight after starting 30th. A great run for him. Andrew Navarro came up just short on that pit strategy, came in a few laps early and got cycled back to the 12th position. Johnny Avila, 13th place finish for him here tonight. Zach Nichols going to come home in the 14th position. Trayton Lapsevich in 15th. Jack Coyne, 16th after starting up inside the top 5. Tanner Love, 17th. Brad Wright in the 18th position. We saw him lead a fair majority of this one. Comes home in 18th. Matt Kemp, 19th. Rounding out your top 20, going to be Spencer Burns.
Spencer Kostowis was 21st, John Jenkins 22nd, Cody Harris finished in 23rd, and Alex Kolonix came home in 24th. Ryan Hill finished in the 25th position this evening. 26th went to Thomas Hazard. Agnel Phillip was 27th. 28th went to Brian LaPrade, Boyd Hogan, and Jackson Crowder, 29th and 30th.
Yeah, running out the field here, we saw Timmy Pacioli involved in our only caution of the day, and he DNF'd there. A tough run for that machine, and I'll have to come back to the Milwaukee Mile looking to build some momentum.
There is your full field rundown with unofficial results for race number 4 of round number 2 of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. And at this stage, we now have the opportunity to bring in our race winner, Daniel Buttafuoco, for North Force Racing. And Daniel, Mid-Ohio, you said sort of fell into your lap, but that you'd also take these wins where you can get them. So when you compare and contrast tonight's run to Mid-Ohio, how do you analyze and look at this win and frame it?
I don't really know what you just said because I was trying to join the webcam thing, but I mean, I don't know. I never really thought of it too much with the way Mid-Ohio thought. I was just going in every race, just trying to get the maximum out of everything. Just try to do everything that I could to get a good result, and just not really worry about it. Just take it race by race. Don't think of it too much as I lucked into it, I didn't deserve it or whatnot. This race, we worked really hard. We really tried to balance out short and long run, and it seemed to work out pretty good. We were good on both ends, and I was a little worried about a strategy. I thought we pitted too late, but it seemed to work out really good. And at that second stint there, that last stint we had we were ripping. We were really fast, and yeah, I don't really know, man. I didn't think the race would go this green the whole way. One caution, that's awesome. But yeah, other than that, I'm just really happy. I didn't expect to have 2 wins this season, with 4 races in. So it's really cool. We may have the points lead too. So I'm just really happy. It's great.
What clicked about this place in testing and preparations that just made this truck seem so strong across the board? And like you said, balanced. There wasn't really a high point or a low point per se for the handling of your machine. It was a quality piece all night long.
Yeah, well, it happens with a great team, right? I know it's a corny answer, but it's great to have guys like Blaze helping with sets. Me and him kind of have been working really well together, have had a great chemistry with working together on sets, and he had a really solid base. We just kept working off of it, and didn't have to do too much to it. It actually drove really good, and also having great guys testing. I gotta say, big shout out to Max for P2. That's huge for him. I mean, he has really stepped the game up. I mean, he's been so fast as of late. So I'm really happy to see him get second. Frisch, Zwack, Blaze, Matt, and Zach have all put in a lot of time and effort. We all really worked well together, and having everyone else on North Force, like JD for spotting me, Vince for being a crew, Parker for giving some tips and tricks, Presley. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. It's just having a great team, and I think we've shown that the past year and a half, what this team's capable of, and how we all get along really well and just get the job done when needed. So. Yeah, I'm surprised, man. I didn't think it would be that strong, but we were, and the strategy worked out good for us. So everything went to plan. Just really, really happy. It's a good trend we have here. Every time FTF streams so far in round 2, we win. So hopefully you guys stream the rest of the races that I'm in. So that'd be great. But yeah, other than that, great. P11 to P1. It feels really cool.
We know how close you were to making the Coke series a year ago. When we keep the way that ended in mind, has your approach to this year, in particular in round 2, been different? Have you carried sort of more of a view towards, not just making it into the contender series, but, potentially trying to qualify with a little bit of breathing room into the Coke series for next year? I'm
just trying to get better every time I'm practicing for this thing. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, I'm pretty shocked that I was even a 1 spot out to begin with last year, because I really didn't think I drove that good. And kind of, part of it was like I didn't feel like I was developed yet for Coke. Or if I made it to Coke this year, I think I would have been out to lunch. I really don't think I would have been any good. So I'm kind of using this year as, I'm upset I didn't make Coke this year, but at the same time, like, I see a lot more positives. It gives me more time to develop my driving and work on my tire saving, my whole race management, just everything with involved with racecraft it's giving me more time to work on that, and hopefully it's shown. But there definitely is a little bit of fire in me to go out there and just have a bit more breathing room to make it in. But the way other than that, I just approach it the same way. I want to be really fast. I want to be one of the best out there. I'm not a complacent person. I always want to go for the wins, right? So it's, I don't like losing. So I want to do the best I can to just go out there and perform.
A race-by-race basis for North Force Racing's Daniel Botafuco, who has taken that approach well and now finds himself in victory lane once again here at Michigan. Botafuco, your race winner. We now turn our attention to the second-place driver in tonight's field. Max Brady brings it home. We know that Daniel talked a little bit about the pace that he had, so let's go down to Caleb Hoffman, who has our runner-up finisher.
And Max, first of all, congratulations on a second place finish here tonight, and definitely wanted to talk about that. Noticed on that first restart, or I guess the only restart really that we had, you started 14th, and you did a great job of just climbing up through traffic. Where do you think you were making up the most time and had the most speed that set you apart, made you so fast and getting through that traffic?
Yeah, I mean, so we started the race. I think I started 20th. I kind of threw my qual up a little bit. And then we went the first, I think, 10 laps green, and I was just trying to figure out the lines, and I was really just kind of driving cautious for the wreck. And obviously the wreck happened, and I don't know if y'all saw it, but I missed it by like half a foot. And then we all pit, and I came out 14th. I think it was really just working the lines. Donovan Strauss was spotting me, so he really was guiding me through it, and I appreciate him a lot for that. But yeah, I was kind of just in 13th there, and then we got a really good line where I got in line on the outside, and I picked off like 5 or 6 cars. And at that point, we were like 8th, I think, 8th or 7th, and then just protecting the top and just picking cars off one by one. And then obviously the pit stops. We had a good pit stop. I think I got a car on pit road, and I was 4th, and then just working with my teammate Dan there until the end.
And looking back at Lucas Soil came home 14th there. I mean, what does it mean for your organization and you tonight to be able to come out here and just put on a show like you did, finishing second here?
Oh my gosh, it means so much. I mean, I've been trying to make pro for 4 years now, so this is obviously the best start I've had in the first 4 races. We didn't do good at Mid Ohio. I'm not the best road course racer. And then we had just a similar drive at Pocono like I did tonight. I started 22nd in Pocono, ended up 4th. And then IRP, I just screwed up qual there, and it was so hard to pass. So I was glad I got out with 14th there. My goal was the top 15, so 14th was great. And then obviously here we started in the back again and just did the right things. And thankfully I got hooked up with a teammate, obviously Dan, there the last 20, 30 laps, and we kind of just powered to the front.
Absolutely. And then right before we let you go, just again, wanted to pick your brain about the last 3 races here. Obviously, the midway point of today, it was the midpoint of this entire round as a whole. 4 races down, 3 to go. Looking ahead at races like the Milwaukee Mile, we got Bristol Dirt, Homestead, Miami. What do you think? Not only you can work on, but what's going to be your strengths going into the final 3 races here?
Yeah, I know I'm going to have to put in a lot of time at Milwaukee Mile. I've really never raced there actually at all. It's never really on the schedule or anything, so I've never just raced there. So thankfully we have the C Opens that week. We haven't had C Opens since Pocono, so that'll help me a lot. Bristol Dirt, gosh, I don't even know, to be honest. That's such a wild card. So I think the goal there is just going to be probably survive. And then Homestead, I actually really, really like Homestead. So hopefully by the time we get to Homestead, I'm in a really good position and I won't have to worry about it too much. But if I do, I know that that's actually one of my better tracks. So I'm looking forward to Homestead out of the 3.
Max Brady sounding confident going into the final 3 races. Congratulations again on a second place here tonight. And thanks for taking the time to speak with us here on FTF.GG.
Yes, sir. I've got to thank a whole bunch of people. Obviously, Norse Force Racing for building this absolute rocket. I mean, it is crazy that I just drove through the field there, and me and Dan 1-2'd, and I'm watching the other race right now, and our teammate Blaze is leading. So huge thanks to Norse Force, obviously to my parents, my mom, my dad, Nikki Nat for watching, Donovan for the amazing spotting. I mean, Donovan's made me such a better driver, and obviously Donovan's basically my family. I've known him forever. And then Jamie, Brenda, all the rest of the Strauss crew for watching. Everybody that supports me, all of my other teammates, Frisch, Zwack. Obviously, y'all for the broadcast. I know y'all put on great broadcasts, so I appreciate it. And then SRD for being on the quarter panels, and then a huge, huge shout out to Carlos Pizza for sponsoring me this whole round. They're a local pizza joint here in Marietta, so if anybody's watching that lives in Georgia and wants a great slice of pizza, head up to Carlos Pizza and they'll hook you up. Carlos Pizza, not Carlos. I forget it all the time. Carlos.
That's a confident Max Brady here. He comes home P2 at Michigan. James?
One more driver to speak with, and one who's had plenty of experience all up and down the eNASCAR ladder from the qualifying series to the Coke Series. Justin Malillo is with our 3rd place finisher this evening, Brian Mercurio.
Brian, 3rd place tonight. You had the option to pit at I believe you ended up pitting a little bit earlier than your 2 competitors there. How did that all work out for you? Did the tires like equalize or something?
Yeah, just based off of what I chose to do there on the caution on lap 10 or 11 or whatever it was. We knew we didn't have to fill it full of fuel for the the next run if we split it in half. So underfueled just a little bit, just got some adjustments in, just to get the truck handling a little bit better. So just based off, I knew what my target was for what lap I wanted to go, and it was basically going to be stretch it out as far as possible. So fortunately, I was working with Chris. I think it was pretty obvious if you guys are watching the race there. I was trying to work with him as much as possible. So we were communicating through the whole race. We had a number for when we wanted to pit, and we hit that number. We both pit together, and I think if maybe we had like one or two more trucks, it just seems if you have like two trucks, that's just like it's one or two short. You don't quite get all the momentum that you need. There were some times where it was hard for me to catch Chris, especially in the first couple laps out of the pits. I think we probably lost a little bit of time from that. And so I think if we had like one or two more trucks, we might have been able to hold off the group of Buttafuoco, Max, a few others behind us. But to be able to kind of jump ahead and then kind of control the race from there and see how everything would shake out and be able to get a third place out of it. Really just looking for points, especially at a pseudo super speedway track like Michigan.
You talk about that one restart. We only had the one caution. First of all, were you surprised that we only had the one caution? And second of all, did that restart where you were stuck behind Agnell on the old tires, that affect a lot of how you played into the strategy?
A little bit. I knew even the first almost 11 laps we had in the first bit of the race there before the caution, I knew we were kind of getting over the hump of where we were like super draft locked, and if you were handling really good, you could actually start to make moves and kind of slice your way through the field. So I knew I was going to be really good there, and so even if I got shuffled back, which I did when I got stuck behind Agnell, it was a little unfortunate. I wish I could have gotten around that a little bit easier, but kind of settled back in a few laps later, around 7th, 8th place, and kind of managed to just pick my way through the field. Like I said, I knew I was working with Chris that whole race, so if I could just get in line with him and kind of ride around and then pick our number for when we were going to pit, I kind of knew it was going to shake out if I just had a good stop. Just dotted my I's, crossed all my T's, that everything would kind of shake out the way it did, and fortunately it looked like it did.
We're still waiting on the other race to finish. They still got 3 laps to go. They're coming up on another overtime restart. But looking at the points position here, unofficially right now third. Of course, you'll probably drop a few more spots once these other results come in. But how are you feeling so far halfway through the season, past halfway through the season now?
I'm probably, I feel almost more confident than I ever have. I know I'm confident in my abilities. I know exactly what I need to do, how I need to do it, given almost any situation. Whether I'm leading, I have to push somebody, I have to, come from the back, or if I make a penalty. Fortunately, I haven't made one myself, but I feel like any scenario that's thrown at me, I feel like I know what I need to do. I've been really strong on the road courses. I finished great at Lucas Oil last week. Another top 5 here at Michigan. So that's all it is. At the end of the day, this just comes down to points racing. Winning's cool, but I'll take 3 third place finishes over a win and 2 17th place finishes. Just got to bank as many points as you can. I'm going to be going away this coming week, so a little bit of time to clear out the mental, just kind of reset myself a little bit. Kind of figure out if there's anything I need to do going forward. And I'll come back the week of Milwaukee, do a little bit of practice then, and kind of get ready for that and see where we do, or how we do.
Yep, you got those 3 races: Milwaukee, Bristol, and on the dirt that is, and Homestead. And just outlook on that. And last question for you is just with the competition around you, it's got to feel pretty good to be in the position that you're in.
Yeah, like I said, I'm confident in my abilities. I'm confident in the team around me. The guys over at Legacy Esports have been building some absolutely incredible trucks. Obviously, we're doing great on the Coke side of things too. We just put Garrett Lowe in the Championship 4 in the Coke Series. So I think we're really kind of finding our groove here, especially through the summer stretch. Garrett has been absolutely on fire in the Coke Series, and we had Pfeffer win out at IRP the last race here in Road to Pro, and for me to get another top 5 here and kind of show the speed that our group has, it's really reassuring. I think just having confidence on both sides of things. Confidence is probably your biggest thing. If you feel like you can go into any race and have the chance to win, it's going to increase your chances tremendously. And I feel like I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can say that.
Brian Mercurio with the confidence, finishing P3 tonight. Thank you, Brian, for your time. Back up to you guys in the booth.
Top 3 finishers there for you this evening as we begin to close out tonight's broadcast. But before we do, looking ahead to what's coming up for this series, Milwaukee. Shorter track, flat track, though. Very different from this one where you're carrying speed everywhere at Michigan. You're not doing that at Milwaukee all that much.
No, and I mean, it's definitely a different challenge for sure. I mean, we saw something similar in Lucas Oil Raceway, but not even close to what Milwaukee Mile is going to be. Gotta watch out for chaos in that one. We've seen, a few different rounds, be marred by cautions. I'll just leave it at that. Was very surprised and really was quite glad that we didn't quite see as many cautions tonight, and it let that pit strategy and the tire strategy play out. And we saw what happened to Agnell Phillip when he tried to stay out, and it did not work for him. We saw how important that tire management was here tonight. All around a very fun race, and congrats to Daniel Buttafuoco and Max Brady, the North Force Racing duo, for again working together there and getting a very important 1-2 at this stage in round number 2.
I think also worth noting, as we can tell you that, sorry for anybody who doesn't want spoilers, but Blaze Crawford has won the other race here at Michigan over on FDN's YouTube channel. So, Buttafuoco and Crawford, your winners this evening. But as I stop and I think about the Milwaukee Mile and what we might be able to expect coming up in 2 weeks' time, I think back to the Coke Series race there at the end of February, where we had so many drivers take about 5 or 6 different lines into turn 1, and that caused incidents. There were wrecks that happened solely off of the fact that drivers had different lines and points of entry going into that first turn, especially when you consider the pit wall sort of juts out a little bit into the entry of the corner as well. So if we get restarts, I think that's something to keep in mind. And it's also a track that raced pretty narrowly, I would say. It did not race like a wide racetrack. It was largely one groove in the corners. So here, you could run the inside, you could run the outside. There, you're going to be fighting for space, and I think fighting towards the bottom of the racetrack. All things worth considering for our next broadcast of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series, which will be on September 1st, the first Thursday of the new month, 9 p.m. Eastern here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel. Of course, more coming up within the next week here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel that we can tell you about. First up, the finale of the ModernRacingPrince.com FTF1 series from Auto Club Speedway coming your way this Friday night. FTF.GG Twitch channel using the IR01. So if you haven't had the chance to check that out. And then Saturday night, FTF Cup action. The Bar Visuals FTF Cup Series heads to Watkins Glen International to go road course racing. That broadcast will start at 9 p.m. also here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel. And then a little bit of breathing room before we get back to action with round 5, or race 5, rather, of round 2. I will perpetually screw that up the whole way through, it seems like. But race 5, round 2, eNASCAR qualifying iRacing Series 2023 at the Milwaukee Mile, Thursday, September 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern. You'll see that broadcast here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel. For everyone involved at FTF.GG, for our producer this evening, Zach Johnson, for our pit reporter, Justin Malillo, and for my partner in the booth, Caleb Hoffman, I am James Pike. Thank you so much for watching our broadcast, the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series for the virtual Michigan International Speedway. Congratulations to our 2 winners this evening from the FTN broadcast, Blaze Crawford, and from our broadcast here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel, Daniel Buttafuoco of North Force Racing. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time from the Milwaukee Mile.